Hello and welcome to 5-Minute Math. Today we are looking at the 7th grade concept of slope-intercept form. This is standard 7.7a in the great state of Texas, and we are using item number 30 of the Redesign Practice online STAAR test. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead and take a moment to pause the video, work this problem out on your own, unpause it, and we will look at our answers together. So Silas is writing an equation for the total cost of a taxi ride here. Base fare is $2.25, $1.75 per mile, and we need to find an equation here that matches that. So let me open up our reference chart here and just show us, see that very top line, linear equations. It says slope-intercept form. That is an equation that we are going to learn for the first time in 7th grade and then continue to use the rest of our mathematics career. Y equals mx plus b. So let's open up the graph draw feature and see exactly what we're talking about here. So when I say slope-intercept form, this is what we're talking about. Y equals mx plus b. So we can label each of these here. So let's look at our x and our y. Right? So our x is our independent variable. So we start with our x, we do something to it, we multiply it by m, we add the b, and then we come out with, most of us think of as the answer, but it's the dependent variable. So it's the variable that depends on what you do with the m and the b. It changes based on what happens to that x. So the y and the x are already labeled for us here. So it says y is dollars. Okay, so total cost in dollars. All right, so that's what we're dealing with here. That's the y. The x is miles. All right, so for a taxi, right, you get charged per mile, but there's some extra things in there. So this b, this is what we call the y-intercept. And so if we were to graph this on a coordinate grid here, right? If we were to draw a line right here, the y-intercept would be right there. It's wherever the graph crosses the y-axis, and that's what happens if x equals 0. So x is our miles. So what happens when there's no miles? Before you even get started, you plop down in the seat. Are you charged anything before any miles have gone forth? Well, you've got a base fare. That base fare means that's just the starting point. So for you to just sit down in the cab, you've been charged $2.55. So when x is 0, that y-intercept, in this case it would be 2.55 if we were graphing this. Okay, so once you get charged that $2.55, that's my base fare, before any miles have gotten on the odometer. Now, what's the charge per mile? Well, that's this. Let me change colors here. That's this m. So the m is the slope, right? So here's the miles. So we're looking for the charge per mile. And so that typically, if you're trying to find it from the actual graph itself, it'd be the change in y over the change in x. Sometimes we'll call it the rise over run if we're wanting to calculate it. But you know what? They've already given it to us. We've got 175 a mile. So per mile, this per means multiply. So we've got this 175. So you step into the cab, you're going to be charged $2.55. Then you are going to be charged $175 per mile, multiplied by mile on top of that. So what looks the closest to that? Well, look at this D right here. So it's $175 per mile multiplied by x plus just the standard base fee of $2.55. That's just for sitting in the cab. So our answer here is D.